Going on, people? This one is Construction Chronicles. This is the introduction. Now, this one, it means a lot to me because this is it's about family. And even though a lot of my lives mean a lot to me, this one is the one that taught me like how to build, how to grow, how to keep a team together, you know? And as a young man, I worked around a group of guys where I was the youngest, but they treated me like a young man and they treated me like an adult. It wasn't no babying or no petting or no powdering. No pet and powder. And if you West Indian, you would understand what that means. No babying. Now, we had a crew called the Demolition Squad, and that was, I would say we was the wild bunch, of the whole construction crew. It was a lot of us in the crew, but we had different divisions of the crew. The whole crew was called Demolition Squad. And it was like, it was a joy. It was a very great time in my life, because I could look back and I could remember many days. I can remember many days where me and these dudes, we had days at construction sites. We had days fixing houses. We used to go into certain houses and we watch houses beat down. We go into certain apartments, we watch apartments beat down, battered down. And one thing that I love the crew, well, this would be one thing why I love the crew. Because we used to watch things that was like abandoned houses or abandoned apartments. And we look in it, and as I said, I was young. But when I went in, I remember my first apartment in Brooklyn, Madison, between Ralph and Patchen. That whole neighborhood, I will say across the street from the school, between Madison, between Ralph and Patchen, across the street from the school, we did a lot of those buildings. Time now. Bless up to you, man. Much love to you, and thank you for joining my live. Man, much love to you forever and forevermore. Thank you. God bless and lion love to you, man. Bless you always. I'm doing good, I'm here at work, waiting to get off, hour from now. I can't complain, I told my cousin I did feel a little lazy, I guess because I've been at work all day since 9 o'clock, and like I was just telling my cousins, I'll be honest with you, Mondays make me feel the laziest, like I'm not a lazy person, but Mondays it's just like it feels sluggish, Mondays is one of my most sluggish days, and I'm trying my best to work that sluggishness off of me on Mondays, because I try to wake up every day and make every day good, but for some reason, Monday has been a thorn. It been a real pain for me. Bless up, Stardust. Bless up, Stardust. Okay, I have to get back to scheduled program. I'm talking about my Construction Chronicles. Let me not get off of pace. But bless up to everybody in the building. Thank you for being in the building. Back to program. Okay. Madison, between Ralph and Patchen, we did like probably 9 of the houses on that block. And We did a lot of places in Bed-Stuy, you know, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. And I remember the first time we went in this house, 788 Madison Avenue, second floor. You know, the house was burnt down. It was burnt inside. You know, people were still living in the building, but the apartment, I think somebody set a fire in the kitchen and it went through the whole house. And that apartment was dirty and it was black and it was gray. Now, the reason why we call ourselves the Demolition Squad, I never knew when I was starting to work with my crew that we was going to clean out houses, then build them up. Now, as I say, I remember the first day we go inside and it looked as dirty as dirty as dirty. But I remember the boss. I will tell you the names of everybody in a few minutes, but just give me some time. Now, I remember I'm looking all around. I'm seeing stuff stuck to the floor. The walls are black and gray, you know. You're seeing burnt stuff all around the place. And the stuff that we could see that's good is still not good because it's been in the apartment for a long time. Now, I remember when the boss told us we gonna be just like making a look through, you know. And me, when I do things, I like to write stuff down of what I'm gonna do. So I remember I went inside my book bag, you know, pulled out my notebook, and I started writing down how we gonna start cleaning up, you know. Start writing down how we gonna attack every room. You know, we was going to attack the floor first, you know. And I remember I was just writing down. It was a 3-bedroom apartment. So I said we're going to start from the kitchen and we're going to go all the way to the last room, you know. That day we was just looking at the house to see how we're going to start. And the reason why we named ourselves the Demolition Squad is because we had to go in a lot of houses first that was dirty. And this wasn't all of our jobs, but we fixed up a lot of houses that people used to live in sometimes, or people didn't live in, or we had to build the house from the foundation up. That means I'm talking about cement and steel blocks, okay? Cement and steel blocks before any wood, okay? This is foundation under the ground. So like when I tell people bless up and big up, it's for my little lion that passed away, and it's for the Demolition Squad, okay? Because we went inside of houses, homes, apartments, and many different places, and we seen them dirty, right? But you know the outcome of what we seen them dirty, we seen it also clean too. Because we always had a vision when we seen a dirty apartment or house or whatever we was working on, we always knew the outcome. Now, I'm going to start off with the star players, you know, of my construction chronicles. We're going to start off with the boss, you know, the main one, the top dog, you know. One of the best people I ever met in my life, taught me a lot, is a very great man, and I still respect him till this day. I got much love for this man. Louis. Okay? That's the boss right there, Louis. Next boss, we got Dread Mike. Dread Mike, that was the other boss too, you know. And Mike and Louis, outside of my father teaching me body work, these two men taught me how to be a carpenter. And they taught me how to be a man as well, just as my father and my uncle did. And I had to find my own way of being a man too. Okay, but these two men, they showed me what it is to fix up an apartment, to fix up a house, to fix up a store, to fix up a supermarket, or to fix anything that you call building. These two men taught me very well. Now, the third man, he came from another crew and another company, is Sheriff, Jamaican Sheriff, you know? And Sheriff, he was a master welder, okay? He was the one that did our steel work of gates, fences, you know, like to make steel gates, you know, steel fences or guardrails, you know. He was the man that did that job for us, you know, Sheriff. And he was very, very precise. He didn't play, you know. Louis, Mike, and Sheriff, they didn't play when it came to work, and they taught me well not to play when it comes to this work of what we call fixing up. Now, I'm going to get to the what we call the workers, you know, the generals, as I will say. I will start off with me, you know, and my name on the job was Young Dread or Delvin, you know. And Young Dread and Delvin, he was a young man that he thought he knew it all, but he had to find out that he didn't know much when he thought he knew it all. And he found out that he didn't know what he thought he knew. Okay, because it was okay for him to come at the job and to be, how could I say, when they all was like, not, I wouldn't say old men, but he was the youngest person at the job, and he was young and hip, and they was old in style, you know, and not old as in disrespecting them, but they was in a higher age than him, but they was somewhat old school, you know. And he didn't disagree with them, or he didn't disrespect them, because they knew him for a long time and he knew them for a long time. So it was like family, you know, and he'll never disrespect them. So Young Dread was always cool with the bosses. One day I will tell you a story about when Young Dread wasn't cool with one of the bosses and what happened. But for now, we will continue of the introduction of the workers and the generals. Now, after Young Dread, you had Tuffy. This was the Jamaican foreman in the crew. And Tuffy was a good worker, you feel me? Cause if you needed an extra hammer, or you needed extra help, or you needed some screws, or you needed a ladder from downstairs and you was on the 5th floor, you call Tuffy. You feel me? And Tuffy will get that ladder. Tuffy will bring them screws to you. He was a crazy loud Jamaican, but Tuffy made sure he was on his job, you know? He made sure that he was on point always. Okay, we're going to get to Congo. Now, just this his name sound, it's just how Congo is. And I'm going to be honest to you. When me and Congo first met each other, we didn't like each other. We didn't get along at all. You know, and me, I will be honest with you. For a couple of months, me and him working together, many of times I judged him wrong. Okay? I judged him wrong. Young Dread, me. I judged him wrong many a times too, where life will show you when you judge a person wrong, to show you that you shouldn't judge a person at all. I used to always think Congo was just like crazy and like just out of his mind. You know, cause Congo used to do some crazy stuff, you know, like you'll catch him drinking a beer 8:30 in the morning, right? And while we all drinking coffee and tea, he'll have a beer. He used to throw it out the backyards of windows or throw it in the garbage so the bosses can't see, you know? And none of the workers ain't never rat him out. You know, we used to just laugh at him because when the bosses used to come, he used to hide his beer or liquor quick. You know, he was very quick on hiding his beer or liquor when the bosses came, you know? But Congo is just like Tuffy too. He didn't care. If you needed his help, Congo will help every single body on that job. And any job I ever been to in my life, I wouldn't call the construction site or the demolition squad like a job, but Congo is one of my best co-workers I ever had. One of the best people I ever worked with in my life. Because as I said, I was judging him for a few months of being ignorant and stupid. And when we actually found common ground within each other, now, this how funny Congo is, because my name is Delvin, you know? Delvin. That's my middle name. But a lot of my family members and close people to me call me Delvin, you know? My first name, some of you will never find out and you will never know. But a lot of people in my family, they'll call me Deli, D, you know? And for some strange reason, one day, Congo started calling me Mr. K. And I was like, I told you my name is Delvin. Where did you get the Mr. K from? And I remember he told me, I don't care. You know, and he was half drunk, but I said, you know what? I said, forget it, man. Just call me Mr. K. You feel me? So that's what he called me throughout all of our construction years, Mr. K. He knew my name was Delvin, but he called me Mr. K. And when Congo was going good on the job, trust me, man, Congo would take like 5 bags downstairs in under 5 minutes. And he wasn't on no drugs. The only thing Congo was on was beer and liquor. That's the only thing. He wasn't no drug addict. He didn't take no drugs. He didn't smoke no cigarettes. So he didn't smoke no weed. Okay? And we all at the job, we knew what Congo liked. And we knew what he used to do. And to get to the point, I'll tell you this funny thing. Even though he used to hide his liquor and his beer from the bosses still knew that he drunk. You know, they still knew that he drunk, but I'll just say, that's water under the bridge. Now, let's get to the next person. We're going to get to Dezo. It's my dog. R.I.P. Dezo. That's my dog. Okay, before I met Desmond, before I met Dezo, I thought I could paint. I thought you couldn't tell me nothing. I thought I was the best painter in the world anyway. And I never painted nothing. But I remember the first day that Desmond taught me how to paint on Madison Avenue. I was there doing what you call, like, you know, flicking my hand back and forth, thinking that I'm doing it good, you know, just going whip, 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 whip. I remember one time he took my own paintbrush from me and he said, young boy, let me show you how you paint. So me being a young person and him being an old person, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't kind of like what he was telling me at the moment of, like, let me show you how to paint, let me show you how to do this. Because I thought I was correct in what I was doing. So I fell back, and he was showing me. And I remember this one thing that I remember mostly about when he was teaching me how to paint. It was the flick of the wrist. Okay? It was the flick of the wrist. I was watching him flick his wrist back and forth. And how I was doing it in my mind, I thought I was the shit. I thought I was doing a correct job. But every time he showed me how to do something with the paintbrush and he did it, it made my wall look like nothing. It made my paint look like nothing. So I remember when I start taking what he said and start doing what he said. Oh, Jimmy Beans, Jimmy Beans, Jimmy Beans. You couldn't tell me nothing. Okay? You couldn't tell me nothing. Because when I start working my wrist correctly, oh yes, I thought I was the best painter in the world. Okay? I thought I was the best painter in the world. And R.I.P. Dez, man. I love you for life, man. For real. Shout out to you. And much respect to you always, for real. Because you gave me a lot in teaching me how to paint. Teaching me how to sand the wall. You know? Like, we had a lot of good days, you know? Like, shout out to you, Dez, from up top, man. Okay. Next person is John. John, Big John. John was the American black brother. John was the one that bought the bud. Okay? He was the one who bought the bud. And if people want to see certain apartments that we did, if you look on Ralph and Prospect Place, the row apartments that you see from the front and the back, we did all of those houses. Okay, we did all of those houses on Ralph and Prospect Place in Brooklyn. We did those houses. Okay, across the street from the mini projects. Now, John was cool because he bought, I'm going to be honest, he bought the different bud to the job, you feel me? Like, we always had our little smoke section, but John bought different, I don't know, John used to bring some good haze to the job, I'm not going to lie. You know, he used to bring some good haze, you know, and he was part of the demolition squad, not the fixing squad or the construction squad really, but he was part of the tear down squad where we needed people to tear down walls. John Congo would tear down that wall, trust me. And I was part of the squad too, you know, because I didn't have a problem in doing demolition work. I used to love to do demolition work. Like, that was like, because I know I'm breaking this wall down and breaking this floor or breaking this ceiling, but when I finish breaking it up, we gonna build it back up. Shout out to John, you know. I remember us throwing blunts at each other, me, John, and Check. But the next person will be Tall Trini. He was half Trinidadian and half, as they say, African American. And Tall Trini was, as I say, he had the Caribbean side and he had the black American side, you know, and he was cool, you know, because Tall Trini he'll give you the best of both worlds. That's all I will say. He'll give you the best of both worlds, you know, because some days, some people didn't know which side to come out of him, the Trinidadian side or the American side. And to me, it was a joy. Big up to you, Trini, wherever you at, man. Now, the next person, Skull. Now, Skull probably back in Jamaica, you know. But Skull was an unorthodox carpenter. Okay? He used to do his stuff in his way. He ain't let nobody tell him to be a carpenter. And to be honest with you, this how far we go back. I'm going to take it back, because if I'm correct, right? Get Rich or Die Trying album came out in 2001, it was, if I'm correct, right? I think so. And I remember he was sending the album back to Jamaica. You feel me? And I bought the real copy and the bootleg copy for him to send to Jamaica. And that's when Yardies was messing with 50 Cent for real in Jamaica, okay? People love the G Unit in Jamaica, excuse me. But shout out to Skull, you know, because he showed me a couple of carpentry tricks too, you know, where, as I said, I thought I was the baddest painter or carpenter in the world, but Skull used to teach me a couple of tricks, you know. And he was nice, you know, because how some people used to have a pencil, Skull used to have a pen to mark his lines. And he used to tell me, I used to say, Skull, why you have a pen? He said, because my joint perfect. I ain't going to mess it up. I know what I'm doing. And let me tell you something. Like 95% of the times, Skull going to cut some board good. Skull going to make sure he screw things good. Like Skull was a good carpenter, man. For real. Big up to Skull. Okay, this my boy right here. It's my boy right here. Check O's. I can't say his other name, you know, because YouTube may give me a community guideline strike, but Check O's. You know, and he's from that block. Okay, Ralph and Prospect Place. You know, he's from there. Now, Check was the straight American brother that I'll say. You feel me? He was like straight black brother. You feel me? And he was the one who gave me the name Young Dread. You know? He gave me the name Young Dread. Because before he gave me the name Young Dread, they'll just call me Dread. Or people will call me Delvin or Young Boy. Now, I remember when, like, the first day, because when 12 o'clock used to come at the jobs, that's when, you know, who burn bud. That's when everybody go up on the roof, or you go in the basement, or you go certain places to smoke your bud. And that's where everybody at the job that used to burn weed, everybody at the job would meet at a specific spot. And everybody will burn until our lunch break was over, or until the blunts was over, or until the spliffs was over. You know, and it was some great times. Great times. You feel me? Because, trust me, if nobody ain't come with bud, and one person had bud, we making sure we break that down for everybody. Or everybody gonna burn the same blunt. Or everybody gonna burn the same spliff. You pass that joint around, you feel me? And then we get back to work. Now, the last person on the squad is the electrician. Okay? And that's Simba. Simba was one of the smartest electricians I ever met in my life. And he was the first person that made me stick my hand in a hole and get shocked. For real, he was the first person that ever made me stick my hand in that hole and get shocked by the electricity. But, as I said, I was a young person learning at the construction site, and I learned a lot, you know, and that was the squad. That was us, you know, that was all of us. Where this is just the introduction. I'm introducing you to everybody and the construction site. You know, I'm introducing you to the demolition squad. And this is my construction chronicles. Because out of, 7 to 8 years? I'm telling you, anybody in the world would want to work with us, okay? Because, yeah, we had some trying times, but Other than that, 90% of the times, we had more fun. We had joy. We treated each other like a family. Okay, from the American brothers to the West Indian brothers to our Hispanic brothers. Okay, because don't matter all that joint like when it came to working with our Mexican brothers, okay, the bricklayers. Let me tell you, I don't care how people lay bricks in Philly. I don't care how people lay bricks in California. You ain't never see no Mexicans lay bricks in New York like bricklayers in New York. Malta, okay? Malta. Okay, like, talking about on point with they chalk line. Okay? Don't mess with my boys and them with they chalk line. Used to be on point. Okay? There's over 100 houses in Brooklyn that we done fixed up. Over 100. Okay? And to me, when I think back about it, and a lot of the apartments, a lot of the places we worked, it give me joy. You know, it give me joy because Demolition Squad, those was my brothers. And even though, like, you know, Mike is gone, Dez is gone, and Congo ain't living in America no more, that's still the squad, you know? And Skull ain't living in America no more, but Check's still here, John's still here, Tuffy's still here, Young Dread Simba's still here, you know, Sheriff's still here. But when I reminisce and think about it, when we was all together, we made what you call magic for real. Okay? We made magic for real. I remember days where we went in parking lots, it didn't have nothing there. And then when you look 9 months later, you had a house there. We built houses from the ground, okay? From rocks, okay? I remember days where we had cement trucks going past 6 o'clock, okay? I remember one time, to be honest, and this is going to be a little cut of the Chronicles right here. I remember one time after 6:30, you know, because we made the construction truck, the concrete truck, we made him stay 30 minutes after his 6 o'clock deadline to go back to his depot to go home. I remember one day where we had to finish a sidewalk, like probably 11 blocks, you know, road blocks, the blocks in the road, you know, on the sidewalk. We had to finish 11 of those. I remember dude told us, yo, it's past 6 o'clock. So I remember Louis told him, and he was like, yo, I understand, but he said, these dudes ain't going nowhere. I remember we had to get like probably 20 or more buckets, and we had to fill the buckets up and put water in them so the dude could leave and go home. I remember we was filling bucket after bucket up, to the point where all the buckets finish, we start mixing cement on the street. Right there, we start cutting bags open and mixing cement on the street. You know, if you ever worked in the construction field, where you know you get 2 bags of cement, 1 bag of rocks, and 1 bag of sand, and you mix all that together, you know? I remember that day. I think we went back home in Bed-Stuy, Because most of us lived in Bed-Stuy, and some people lived in Brownsville, Brooklyn. I remember a lot of us going home after 10:30. And that was one of the latest that we went home, 10:30. You know? For the regular cutoff hours for us was, 9 to 5. Okay? And that day I remember a lot of people, their shoulders was hurt, their legs was hurt. I remember that day, that same day, I remember like around 10:30 when we all finished and we had to throw the stuff in the backyard, the buckets, the pitchforks, the hammers, and the shovels. I remember it was probably like 9 of us and we sat on the sidewalk just drinking water and Gatorade just to like chill and to cool off. And 10 minutes later, that's when we all went home. Thank you for everybody that joined this live. This is Construction Chronicles Introductions. Shout out to my brothers, man. I love y'all for life.